you're mid 20. I'm start. Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to tell you some information about history. Our history starts from the Voyages of Discovery. Our history course starts from the Voyages of Discovery or the Age of Exploration. So the Voyages of Discovery. Why this voyage of discovery took place? Voyage of discovery took place from Europe to find out new trade routes and to explore new lands and to study the cultures of other nations. So for these purposes, the Voyages of Discovery started. Voyages means traveling in the sea, because in the beginning there were no roads everywhere, so people were traveling mostly in the sea, and Europeans and other countries were doing trade through sea routes. So these Voyages of Discovery started in Europe in 15th century, and it carried on up to 17th century. So in these 200 years, the Europeans reached to each and every corner of the world, especially the eastern countries. And these routes, they have a great curiosity of the wealth of the East. So because ईस्ट में जो रिसोर्सेज हैं, ईस्ट में जो दौलत है वो यूरोप के पास नहीं था, तो दौलत से मुराद ईस्ट में मिनरल्स, गोल्ड, स्पाइसेस, सॉल्ट, marble, gypsum, and so many other things which are not there in Europe. तो जब यूरोप के लोगों ने इसके बारे में सुना, तो उन्होंने चाहा कि वो ईस्ट की तरफ जाएं, ईस्टर्न कंट्रीज की तरफ जाएं और वहाँ पे ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इलाके अपने कब्जे में लें एंड कैप्चर दोज रिसोर्सेज और उनके वजह से होकर आगे बढ़े दुनिया में तरक्की करें. बिकॉज दीज यूरोपियन नेशंस आर वेरी पुअर नेशंस ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. बहुत ज़्यादा ये दुनिया में बहुत ज़्यादा पसमानदा लोग थे, तो इन्होंने अपनी हालत बदलने के लिए ईस्ट का रुख किया, ईस्ट की दौलत का रुख किया. नाउ लेट्स सी कि इस वॉयजेज में कौन कौन कहाँ पे काम आ रहा है. So in the Voyage of Discovery, first we see the Portugal. Portugal is the first country which started this Voyage of Discovery. So Portuguese were the first people who started this Voyage of Discovery. And Prince Henry of Portugal is called the pioneer of these Voyages of Discovery, because he, for the first time in Europe, he made so many sophisticated ships and employed a lot of people for it, so that they should go to the east and they should do trade with the east. So due to Prince Henry, Portugal became a power of the world and it established its trade in other countries. Now, in these Portuguese, there was a person, Vasco da Gama. He was from Portugal and he was born in 1460. He joined the trade of Portugal, and he was made in charge of the royal vessels. Now, what were the royal vessels? Royal vessels, it was the fleet of 4 ships, 4 जहाज़ों का एक ग्रुप, इसमें ट्रेड शिप्स का एक ग्रुप, जिसका इंचार्ज बनाया गया वास्को डी गामा को. And Vasco da Gama, with these fleet of 4 ships, came out in July 1497, towards India, an Indian expedition, and he reached India in 1498. In 1498, he reaches India. Now, जब वो इंडिया पहुंचता है तो वहाँ पे उसने तिजारती मराकज़ कायम किए, ऑफिस कायम किए, इंडिया में अपने पुर्तगाल का ऑफिस कायम किया और बहुत कामयाबी के साथ उसने वहाँ पे पुर्तगाल का झंडा गाड़ दिया. Now in 1499 he went back. 1499 he is back to Portugal. When he is back to Portugal, तो 1499 में he was made advisor to the king on Indian affairs. उसको इंडिया के हालात के लिए किंग का एडवाइजर बनाया गया, मुशीर बनाया गया. Now he was sent back to India in 1524 as viceroy. Now Vasco da Gama was the first viceroy in India. यूरोप की तरफ से कोई पहला शख्स वास्को ड गामा था जो इंडिया में वाइसरॉय बना. और पुर्तगाल वाज द फर्स्ट कंट्री जिसने इंडिया में अपना वाइसरॉय मुकर्रर किया. सो इट वाज वास्को ड गामा फॉर पुर्तगाल साइड इन 1524 who became viceroy of India for Portugal. But he seriously fell ill in this year and he died in the same year 1524. Our another explorer is Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus belonged to Italy. He was born in Italy, but he did not stay in Italy for a long time. Christopher Columbus was born in Italy in 1451. He was born in Italy, but from Italy he shifted to Lisbon, and from Lisbon he shifted to Portugal, and from Portugal he shifted to Spain, and then he remained in Spain for the end of his life. आखिरी वक्त पे वो स्पेन में रहा. From Spanish government side he came out on Indian expedition in 1492. अब स्पेन के लोग भी चाहते थे कि वो भी इंडिया की तरफ जाएं, और इंडिया में जो वेल्थ है, जो दौलत है, और जो यहाँ पे ट्रेड में जो फ़ायदा है, तो स्पेन भी उससे फ़ायदा उठाए और पुर्तगाल की तरह स्पेन भी एक पावर बन जाए. But in 1492, the strong winds from the east side took his ship. He was with 4 ships, so took his 4 ships to another side, and he reached to the island of Caribbean, or the island of Caribbean. Now he came back, and on second expedition. He again came on the same route because he was thinking, वो ये समझ रहा था कि वो इंडिया ही की तरफ जा रहा है, तो वो समझा कि वो अभी इंडिया नहीं पहुंचा है, अभी रास्ता बाकी है. So on the second expedition he came back on the same route and reached to the island of Dominica. It was second expedition. Now in third expedition he on the same route he reached to the coast of South America. And in his fourth expedition on the same route in 1502 he reached to Central America. And he thought that he reached India. Now यहाँ पर उसने मुख्तलिफ इलाकों के नाम रखे, और अभी तक बहुत से आइलैंड्स के नाम वही हैं जो कि क्रिस्टोफर कोलंबस ने रखे हैं. और क्रिस्टोफर कोलंबस को अपने आखिरी वक्त तक पता नहीं चला कि वो इंडिया की जगह किसी और जगह पहुंच गए हैं. So he was thinking that he had discovered India for Spain. Now he died in 1506. And his expeditions are over. Now, the other person in this regard is Marco Polo. Marco Polo also belonged to Italy, and he traveled to China from Italy side. Marco Polo did traveling between Europe and China. He was born in 1254. He was born in 1254 in Italy, in Venice, its capital, and he traveled China from 1271 to 1295. During these years, he traveled to China frequently, and for 17 years he served the Yuan king Kublai Khan. The Yuan king Kublai Khan. He served for him. He wrote 2 books, the Millennium and the Travels of Marco Polo. The Travels of Marco Polo. These are the names of his 2 books. जो उसने चाइना के इस तरफ ट्रैवलिंग पर लिखी है और उसमें उसने काफ़ी इंफॉर्मेशन दी है ट्रैवलिंग्स के बारे में, सीज के बारे में एंड चाइना के साथ ट्रेड के बारे में विच वाज थ्रू द सिल्क रूट. हिज बुक्स, उनके बुक्स को काफ़ी ट्रैवलर्स ने बाद में उससे काफ़ी फ़ायदा उठाया. स्पेशली क्रिस्टोफर कोलंबस यूज्ड हिज बुक्स एज अ गाइड फॉर सी ट्रैवलिंग्स. Now, these was these were the voyagers, and Marco Polo died in 1324 in his own city, Venice, Italy. Now, we studied about these 3 travelers. Now, let's see what happened, what resulted after these voyages. Conclusion. So, in conclusion, due to these voyages, east and west came closer. Trade started between east and west. Cultures of east and west took effects from each other. And the European nations transfer the wealth and resources of the eastern countries or Orient. East is also called Orient, to their own countries. Europe became rich, especially Spain and Portugal became the powers of the world. Now, towards that's all about the Voyages of Discovery, and then inshallah we will have a Zoom meeting on this topic. So you see this lecture at home, and in a Zoom meeting you can ask questions. There will be question answer session. Any ambiguity you have in your mind, so inshallah I'll clarify it to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the next meeting.